Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. So brothers and sisters, we are going to start our halakah today. So if you haven't already, please take a seat. That is there. So we're going to start our halakah today by reciting Surah Al-Fatihah together. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahi rabbil alamin. Ar-Rahmanir-Rahim. Maliki yaumiddin. Iyyaka na'budu wa iyyaka nasta'in. Ihdinas siratal mustaqim. Siratal ladzina an'amta 'alaihim ghairil maghdubi 'alaihim waladdallin. And I would like to invite our little brothers and sisters. We have Nadine. Is Nadine here? Or they're still reciting inside, I guess. So we'll have three little brothers and sisters. We have Adam, Nadine, and Kayla to recite Surat An-Nas. So, children, please welcome our little brothers and sisters, Nadine, Kayla, and Adam. Bismillah. Shaytanirrajim.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim.
Malikin nas, ilahin nas, min syarril waswasil khannas, alladzi yuwaswisu fi sudurin nas, minal jinnati wan nas. Alhamdulillah. Thank you very much, Nadine, Kayla, and Adam. Beautiful.
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وبارك عليه وسلم. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي. Dear brothers and sisters in Islam, inshallah today's topic is about optimism. Islam is a religion of optimism. What is optimism? There is no scientific definition for optimism. But optimism, to put it in simple words, is simply to expect good things to happen for everything you do. Expect the good that's going to happen. And pessimism is the opposite. You expect bad things to happen. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in a hadith Qudsi, the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam in a divine hadith, he said, Allah says, I am as my servant expects of me. What does this hadith means? It means that there is a divine law, a law that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala established, a law of attraction. It's very simple. You attract what you think of, and you will get what you expect. That's what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying. According to the law of attraction, if you are pessimistic, bad things will happen, and you're going to fail, and everything is not going to work out. And if you're optimistic, then good things are going to happen. You're going to succeed. Everything's going to work out. And if everything you do in your life is fear, hopelessness, you are going to get that. If you start something by saying, I don't think I can do it, you're not going to do it. If you start something by saying, I think I'm going to fail, you will fail. That's the law of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And if we think happy thoughts, we will be happy. If we think miserable thoughts, we will be miserable. If we think success, we will succeed. If we think failure, we will fail. This is the law of Allah. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling us, I'm putting you in the driver's seat. You decide. You expect from me good things, I'll give you good things. You expect bad things, I'll give you bad things. So God subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying, I am limited by your thinking. You are the one who's going to limit me by your thinking. You think that it's too much. I don't think Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is going to do that for me. I don't think Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is going to forgive me. then you're limiting what Allah is going to do for you. If you think that whatever I have, I'm sick, I lost my job, I lost my money, but I know Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is going to repair all of that, is going to fix all of that. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is going to fix it for you. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, لا تقنطوا من رحمة الله. Do not despair of the mercy of Allah. Do not give up on the mercy of Allah. So Allah is telling us, be optimistic. Don't give up. Never. Don't give up on the mercy of Allah. And His mercy is everything. The new job, you have, spousal problem, He's going to solve it. Your children have problems, He's going to solve them. Everything, that's the mercy of Allah. He's saying whatever it is, don't give up on His mercy. And the Prophet ﷺ always was trying to make us optimistic. So even when he's telling us about paradise, Jannah, he's saying in a hadith, Jannah is nearer to you than your shoelace. So he's saying, some people make it difficult. Oh, there is no way. I'm not the kind of guy I'm going to go to Jannah. He's saying it's so close. It's very close. It's not so hard. It's so close. Just keep moving. It's as close as your shoelace. Like you just can touch it. All you have to do is just move forward a little bit. Do some good. And you'll reach Jannah, inshaAllah. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, even in His beautiful names are all names that are giving us hope. So if you are a sinner, you did a lot of bad things that Allah does not like, but Allah is telling us, yes, you are a sinner, but I am the forgiving. I am the coverer of faults. I am the merciful. So He's giving us hope, optimism, that even you sinned, you did so many bad things, still there is hope. And if you're poor, you have difficulty, financial difficulty, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling you, here is my beautiful name. I am the enricher. I am the giver. I am the provider. I am the generous. So all the names of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives you hope, gives you optimism that everything is going to be better. Have hope. Don't give up. And sometimes we have the mistake of judging things based on the immediate outcome, what happens right away. So something, you got laid off. Immediately you say, it's bad. I'm pessimistic. Things are bad. Things are going to go horrible. It's going to be difficult. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling us, don't judge things by what's happening immediately. Allah is saying, وَعَسَى أَن تَكْرَهُ شَيْئًا وَهُوَ خَيْرٌ لَكُمْ وَعَسَى أَن تُحِبُّ شَيْئًا وَهُوَ شَرٌ لَكُمْ وَاللَّهُ يَعْلَمُ وَأَنْتُمْ لَا تَعْلَمُونَ. And it may be that you hate a thing which is good for you, and that you like a thing which is bad for you. Allah knows, but you do not know. So bad things gonna happen. But Allah is saying, even when bad things happen, expect good to come out of it. Be optimistic. Don't expect that the bad, that's it. No. There is good that will come out of it. Expect that. Expect that something better is coming along. You think that's the end of the world. No, it's not. It's a test. And something good is going to come out of it. If you look at when they build skyscrapers, I went to Dubai and I saw the tallest building in the world, Burj Khalifa. And they have a beautiful timeline showing you how they're building it. When you look at the way they built that thing, they spent more than a year. When you go and look, there is nothing. More than a year. What they were doing, they were excavating, digging, building foundation for a year and a half. Nothing you can see. They're just going deeper and deeper and deeper. And then after a year and a half, they started to go up and up and up until they reached to be the highest building in the world. It's the same thing for us human beings. Sometimes we think that I'm not getting a break. Problems are piling up on me, one after the other after the other. It's the same like building a skyscraper. Sometimes Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is making you stronger and stronger by giving you more difficult tests. But then He's going to raise you up and up to a higher level than you can imagine. But you have to have patience. Because for a year and a half, there was nothing on earth. And they are telling you they're going to build the tallest building in the world. Come on, there is nothing. A year and a half. But if you have patience, after several years after that, they reach the highest building in the world. So Allah sometimes is preparing you for new success, for new heights. But you need to be patient. I knew a person. That person was a corporate person. That person worked for companies all his life. Every time somebody asks him, a startup comes and they ask him to join, never join a startup. He's a company guy. He likes to go to work, get his paycheck, go home. He has his weekend. Life is great. That's all he wants. And he was working for a big company. Then one day, he got laid off. The company was going through adjustment, difficulty, and he got laid off. For a long time, that person was feeling miserable. He felt it's unfair. What did I do? I was doing my best. I was working hard. I was doing a good job. My reviews were great, but the whole department got eliminated. And he was gone. But then he started to realize that maybe Allah is doing something for me and I should look at it in a positive way. He started to look at it in a positive way. He started a company. And when he started that company, he worked as hard as he can. You know what? Allah rewarded him. The second year, his sale was more than $1 million in the second year. But Allah knew this person, he will never achieve building a new company except he has to be pushed out of a company. He's not that kind of guy. He will never resign on his own, never. But Allah pushed him out, forced him out. And when he accepted Allah's decision, Allah helped him. And the second year, over $1 million in sales. And he kept going up. So always look at it. It looks bad. But Allah, if you accept Allah's decision and try to look at the positive in it, you're going to see great things happen for you in your life. Some people think being optimistic is just you don't do anything. You trust Allah and sit back. And if your house is on fire, you say, I trust Allah, I'm doing nothing. Allah is going to take care of the fire. No. Being optimistic means that you do everything you can in your power and trust that Allah is going to do great things for you and it will happen. But you have to do your part. It's not you just sit back and do nothing. The believer knows that Allah will not allow any test or difficulty or any harm in their life unless there is a purpose and a benefit for him. That's a believer. He believes in that. Everything that happens to you, difficulty, sickness, loss of money, loss of job, loss of loved ones, whatever, anything, there is a reason for Allah that's good for you that's going to happen in that. And if you are patient and you keep moving forward, then you will achieve new heights that you cannot imagine. Sometimes some people, the reason they are not optimistic is they let their emotion control them. What do I mean by emotion? Some people are superstitious. Like a person will say, oh, it's Friday the 13th. No. That's a bad day. I'm not going to do anything. I was going to go for an interview and I saw a black cat. Oh, I'm not going to get the job. Some people are like that. There is people who are superstitious and they believe in those things. But the Prophet ﷺ told us the best type of omen is a good omen, means sign. The best sign is a good sign. And he added, a Muslim should not refrain from anything because of an omen. So the Muslim, there is good signs, but Muslims don't have bad signs. There is nothing called bad signs for a Muslim. There is good signs. Allah may give you, like, you're going to an interview and you find somebody meet you in the street and say, Inshallah, today is going to be your best day. It's a good sign. But if somebody tells you anything negative, there is no bad signs for a Muslim. Only positive. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, in all the Quran, there is so many verses that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is giving hope to the Muslims. At time of difficulties, when they are down, when they are in hardship, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is giving Muslim hope, optimism. In the early days of Islam, when the Muslims were very small number in Mecca, and the non-believer were harassing them, giving them hard time, and telling them, we are going to kill you, we're going to finish you. Muslims were believing that the Christian, the Roman Christians, they are believing in the same God. And they said always to the non-believer that they believe in God of Jesus, of Isa alayhi salam, and we believe in the God of Muhammad, who is the same God, alayhi salatu wasalam. So at that time, in the early days, the Roman, which are the superpower, got into a war with the Persian, who are the other superpower at the time. And it was a big war. And the Persian, who worship fire, they defeated the Roman, humiliated them, not only defeated them, humiliated them. So the non-believer came to the Prophet ﷺ and the companion, and they said, look, the God of fire defeated your God. Do you see what happened? The same way we are gonna finish you guys. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revealed the Quran. And the Quran says, غُلِبَتُ الرُّومِ في أدنى الأرض وهم من بعد غلبهم سيغلبون في بضع سنين. The Romans have been defeated in the nearer land, and they, after their defeat, will be victorious within a few years. So when the Muslims were down and they feel our Christian brothers were being defeated, Allah sent them verses saying they were defeated, but they are going to win. And He said in bid'a sinin, in a few years, in the Arabic language, bid'a sinin means between 3 and 9 years. So when the non-believer heard those verses, they got scared. They said, if their God is giving a specific time between 3 and 9 years, that means this is something that most of us are going to be alive to witness. Maybe their God is right. So they stayed away from them. Instead of finishing them, they stayed away from them. And another time, there was a boycott. The non-believer kicked the Muslims out of Mecca. All Muslims, they kicked them out. And they cornered them between two mountains. And they said, we are going to boycott you economically. We're not going to buy from you. We're not going to sell to you. You are not going to deal with any of us. And we're not going to marry from you, and you're not going to marry from us. At the time, still it was not haram to marry non-Muslims. It was fine. So the Muslims were in a hardship. They couldn't find food. They couldn't eat. They were eating leaves from the trees. They were not able to buy anything. And when they buy something, they pay exorbitant amount of money for it. So they were starving, the Muslims. And in the middle of that, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revealed a verse to give them hope and optimism. Allah said, سَيُهْزَمُ الجَّمْعُ وَيُوَلُّونَ الدُّبُرِ. The crowds will be defeated and will turn and flee. In the middle of that misery, Sayyidina Umar, when he heard that verse, Sayyidina Umar radiallahu anhu, when he heard that verse, he said, which crowd and which people were talking about defeating? We are so weak. We are so humiliated. How we are going to defeat those people? And he was kind of puzzled, but he said, if Allah said that, I believe it. Then after the battle of Badr, when the Muslim defeated the non-believer in a good victory, Sayyidina Umar, he said, today I understand what that verse means. He couldn't understand it. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent that verse to give them hope, optimism. Don't give up. And in another battle, it's called the Battle of the Trench, Al-Khandaq. The Prophet ﷺ were in the Medina, and the Muslims were still a minority compared to the non-believer. The non-believer of Quraysh decided, we are going to have one battle with the Muslim and finish them once for all. Jazakallah khair. Thank you. And we're going to finish them once for all. So what they did, they went to all the tribes around Medina who don't believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and they said, we want to be united and we're going to be one army and go fight the Muslims and defeat them and finish them once for all. And they came 10,000 soldiers, huge army at that time. So the Prophet ﷺ and the companion decided, we are going to build a trench around Medina. A trench, a deep hole around the Medina. And they said, that way, when the non-believer come, they are not going to be able to attack us. And if they try to come in, they have to get through the trench so we can hit them with the arrows and throw at them rocks and stop them. They kept digging the trench until they get to one point. There was a huge rock and they couldn't break it. They tried everything. Then they went to the Prophet ﷺ and they said, there is a rock we cannot break. And if we don't break that rock, the non-believer are going to be able to cross on their horses and attack us. There is nothing we can do. So the Prophet ﷺ went with them. And he went there and he asked them to give him a sledgehammer. They gave him the sledgehammer and he said, Bismillah. And he hit the rock. And a spark came out of that rock. When the spark came out of that rock, the Prophet ﷺ, he said, Allahu Akbar. I have been given the keys of Syria. By Allah, I see its red castles. And then he took the sledgehammer and he said, Bismillah, hit the rock a second time. And he said, Allahu Akbar, and a third of the rock broke. The second time, another third broke. And he said, Allahu Akbar, I have been given the keys to Persia. And by Allah, I see the white castles of Al-Madain. And then he took the sledgehammer and hit the third time. And a spark came out again. And he said, Allahu Akbar, I have been given the keys of the Yemen. By Allah, I see the gates of Sana'a from here. Look at what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is doing. In their darkest time, they feel they are on the verge of being eliminated. He gives them hope. Don't give up. You're not only you're going to be able to defeat them, but you are going to open Persia and Syria and Yemen. Great hope. So be optimistic. Don't give up in your time of difficulties. Things are going to get better. And the Prophet ﷺ is telling us in a hadith, whenever a Muslim is afflicted with a hardship, sickness, sadness, worry, harm, or depression, even a thorn's prick, Allah erases his sins because of it. So he's telling us, whatever bad is happening to you, there is something good that's going to come out of it. Don't give up. Always be optimistic. Something good is coming out of my test, of my trial, of my difficulty. Something good is happening. And the Prophet ﷺ told us, when you go in to visit a dying person dying, there is nothing worse. He knows he's dying and he's dying. He says, express a hope that he will live long. Be optimistic. Give him optimism. He knows he's dying. You know he's dying. But always still be optimistic. Tell him that he's going to, inshallah, live long. And then he added, he said, that will not prevent anything, but it will comfort him. Hope gives comfort. Hope makes you keep going. Hopes make you accept and live with the difficulty you're in until inshallah something better is going to happen. A pessimist, they see difficulty in every opportunity. But the optimist, They see opportunity in every difficulty. So you should be that person, the optimist. And you know what? If you read the stories of successful people, one thing that all successful people have in common, optimism. All of them. All of them. It doesn't matter whether you're talking about Google, Larry Page, you're talking about Zuckerberg at Facebook, you're talking about Bill Gates, you're talking whoever it is. They have one thing that all they have the same, optimism. Because if they didn't have that, all of them went through difficulty. All of them had hard time. Things were dark at some time. But optimism kept them going. They didn't stop. And you know what? The battle between optimism and pessimism, success and failure, all start in your mind. That's where it starts. It doesn't start anywhere else, in your mind. So as a person, if you want to be successful, you have to have positive thoughts. If you have negative thoughts and you say I'm optimistic, no way. It starts here. If here is pessimistic, everything you're going to do is going to be pessimistic. If here is optimistic and you have positive thoughts, you are going to have positive results at the end. And one beautiful example that we have in the Quran, there is a chapter in the Quran called Surah At-Talaq, the divorce. And in the first verses in that chapter, it's talking about the most difficult time in the life of a husband and wife, divorce. All the talk. It's really difficult things. Things are, bad in their life. It's a low point in both their lives. But in the middle of those verses, Allah insert a verse that's amazing. Allah insert in that, He's saying, وَمَنْ يَتَّقِ اللَّهَ يَجْعَلْ لَهُ مَخْرَجًا وَيَرْزُقْهُ مِنْ حَيْثُ لَا يَحْتَسِبُ وَمَنْ يَتَوَكَّلْ عَلَى اللَّهِ فَهُوَ حَسْبُهُ. And whoever obeys Allah, He will make for him a way out of difficulties and will provide for him from ways where he does not expect. And whoever relies upon Allah, then He is sufficient for him. In the middle of the divorce, Allah is saying, things look bad, things look difficult, but have hope. Be optimistic. If you trust Allah and you obey Allah, don't mistreat each other because it's a divorce. Don't say bad things to each other. Don't badmouth each other. Don't try to cheat your spouse from whatever is rightfully hers, or cheat your spouse from whatever is rightfully his. Don't hurt each other. And if you do that, Allah is saying, I'm going to get you out of difficulty, whatever it's going to be, from ways you cannot imagine. And if you trust me, I'll take care of you. Some people think, I'm going to be divorced. How am I going to live? Allah is saying, don't worry, fear me, and trust me. I'll take care of you. Look at the beauty. In the middle of the dark time and the difficult verses of the talaq, of divorce, Allah is saying, have hope. Be optimistic. All that difficulty, all that dark time, if you trust me and you obey me, I'll change it. I'll make your days better than you can imagine. And I'll tell you another example of people who believe on not giving up. Thomas Edison. We all know Thomas Edison. He's very famous. He's the guy who invented the light bulb. He invented so many things. But when he was trying to invent the light bulb, he was having difficulty. What is that thing in the element that he's going to put inside the light bulb to light up? He was having a hard time. So what happened? He tried so many things. He's tried cotton. He tried silk. He tried all kind of different things. Then his people who are critical of him, they started to criticize him. They said, you failed. You tried 10,000 different things and you failed. You're a failure. He answered them. He said a quote that still till today people remember that. He said, I have not failed. I have just found 10,000 ways that won't work. Look at the way he's looking at his failure in a positive way. I found 10,000 ways. It doesn't work. It doesn't mean I give up. I'm going to keep going. If he did give up and listen to them, we wouldn't have the light bulbs today. But he didn't. He kept going. And if you look in Islam, everything that we do, dua, repentance, act of worship, they are all optimistic actions. All of them. When you make dua, you're optimistic that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is going to give you what you're asking for. When you repent, you're optimistic that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is going to forgive you. When you do salah, you're optimistic that you're standing in between the hands of Allah and He's listening to you and He's going to cover you with His mercy and help you in your life. Everything that we do is optimistic action. And if you have optimistic thought about Allah, then that's Islam. If you have pessimistic thought about Allah, then there is something wrong with your Islam. Being optimistic is about seeing the good in everything. And he who has good thoughts will have a happy life. In our life, there is so many beautiful things around us. Everything is around us. And being optimistic, it just helps you to see the good that's around you. It's already there. But when you're pessimistic, you don't see it. When you're optimistic, you start to see it. So be optimistic, you see the good things. Sayyidina Isa alayhi salam, Jesus alayhi salam, one day he was walking with his disciples. They were walking and they passed by a dead dog. So his disciple, one of them, he said, "Oh, look at the smell. It's horrible." Another one said, "Look at his flesh. It's disgusting." Everyone was saying something evil about that dead dog. Sayyidina Isa alayhi salam looked at the dog and he said, "Look at his white teeth." Optimistic. If you look at the bad in everything, you're not going to see the good. You're going to miss it. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala puts sometimes a flower in the middle of weeds. If you just look at the weeds, say, "Oh, look at all the weeds," you're going to miss that beautiful flower. But if you look at the positive, you look at the good in everything, then you have a good chance of being successful and moving forward. Another story I'll tell you, that bad things and bad time happens to all of us. But it's up to you if you keep going. We all know Kentucky Fried Chicken, Colonel Sanders. That guy had a gas station, and that gas station was next to the freeway, and he had a little kitchen. He was doing his Kentucky Fried Chicken. It was not called Kentucky Fried Chicken at the time, it was just chicken. He has that recipe, and everybody loves it. Life was great, he was happy, nothing wrong. Then in his late 60s, the state decided to build a new freeway, and they built a new freeway, and the freeway that was next to him was closed. His business went from great business to zero. Zero, nothing. The guy barely was able to pay all his debt, and he ended up with $105. That's all he had, $105. But he didn't give up. He's in his late 60s. Somebody would have said, "Come on, don't waste your time. It's over. Life is bad. You have no hope. Just go and retire." He didn't give up. He kept going and trying to sell his recipe until he was able to convince somebody to buy the recipe. Today, Kentucky Fried Chicken has more than 11,000 stores. If he gave up, he wouldn't be what we know today, Kentucky Fried Chicken. He will be just a guy sitting, retired and died, and nobody heard about him. So don't give up. Sometimes things are difficult, but don't give up. Just keep moving. When bad things happen, you can decide. You can be angry, depressed, that there is no hope, and pessimistic. Or be patient and believe in the good things that are going to happen. Be optimistic and believe in what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling us in the Quran. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَبَشِّرِ الصَّابِرِينَ, and give good news to the patient. So Allah is saying, if things are difficult, be patient. There is good news coming. It's coming. Because Allah said, وَبَشِّرِ الصَّابِرِينَ. It's coming, but have to be patient. If you're not patient, it's not going to come. It's going to miss you. If you're patient, Allah said it is coming. It's not maybe. It's not, if I decide I'm going to change my mind or not. Allah is saying it's coming. Just be patient. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran as well, سَيَجْعَلُ اللَّهُ بَعْدَ عُسْرٍ يُسْرًا. Allah will grant ease after difficulty. So Allah is promising, you are in difficulty today. Things look bad. Things look dark. Ease is coming. But unfortunately, a lot of time, we walk away. We give up. Allah is promising ease is coming. But you have to be there when ease is coming. If you're not there, you're going to miss it. You just took all the miserable time, and when the good times came, you were gone. So don't give up. Wait and be patient and trust Allah. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying, أَلَا إِنَّ نَصْرَ اللَّهِ قَرِيبٌ. Surely the victory of Allah is near. So if you have enemies, if people are attacking you, saying bad things about you, trying to make you lose your job, doing everything they can to hurt you, Allah is saying, be patient. Victory is coming. I'm going to give you victory over those people who are hurting you. Don't give up. Victory is coming. So what are the sources of pessimism? What makes us pessimistic? 3 things make us pessimistic. The first one is shaitan, Satan. The second one is people. And the third one, and the most difficult one, is ourselves. Those are the 3 sources of pessimism. No other source. The first one, shaitan. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, الشيطان يعدكم الفقر ويأمركم بالفحشاء والله يعدكم مغفرة منه وفضلا. Shaitan promises you with poverty and orders you to commit evil deeds, evil sins. And Allah promises you forgiveness from Himself and abundance. Shaitan comes to you and tells you, your kids are young. You barely can make it. What are you going to do? You should do something. How you're going to take care of your children? Why don't you cheat? Why don't you steal? At least you can, take care of your children. It's not for you, it's for your children. And He promised you, you're going to be poor if you don't cheat. You're going to be poor if you don't steal. You're going to be poor if you don't lie. Everything He gives you the promises until you believe Him. And once you believe Him, you're going to start to commit the sin. And He's lying to you because He cannot control anything. But Allah is saying, on the other hand, obey me. Not only I'm going to forgive you, I'm going to give you abundance. I'm going to give you a lot. The opposite. So sometimes we listen to shaitan and makes us pessimistic. We start to listen to shaitan and we start to be scared. Shaitan comes to you and say, are you crazy? You're going to give zakat? You're going to give charity? 2.5% of your money? Come on, are you stupid? 100 minus 2.5 is 97.5. How can you think your money is going to grow? And you listen to shaitan. But Allah is promising you, you pay zakah, I'm going to multiply your money. Multiply it. Not give you the 2.5%, I'm going to give you a lot more. So shaitan makes you pessimistic. The other source of pessimism is people. People that come and tell you, you want to try this? It has been tried before, it doesn't work. Don't try. Don't even waste your time. I know so-and-so and it didn't work. I've seen some people go to visit somebody sick, and I've seen it, unfortunately, I've seen it. They go to the person, they're sick, and they say, my cousin such and such has the same thing and he died. And my son, come on, for God's sake. So people can make you pessimistic. So don't listen to them. I'll tell you a story. In 1962, there was a student at Yale University. That student name was Fred Smith. And he had a class of management. One of the assignment they had in the class is, we want you to prepare a business plan for a new idea, for a business. And he put together a business plan and submitted it to his teacher, the professor. The professor read it. The guy said, talk about how computers are going to take off and how the world is going to change and things are going to go faster and everything in life is need fast and speed and all of that. The teacher read it. He said, I like your idea. I like your proposal. I like everything you're saying in the business plan. And it's good, except one thing. It's not realistic. So he gave him a C. That same person, Fred Smith, in 1970, he went out and started a company called Federal Express with the same business plan that he got a C for. And last year, Federal Express made $45 billion in revenue. People are going to tell you, don't try. It's not going to work. There is no hope. Don't listen. Listen to what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling you in your heart. That's what you need to listen to, not to what people are telling you. And the last one is yourself. And that's the most difficult one. Because everything else, you can fight back. But yourself, how you're going to fight back? You are the source of the pessimism. You tell yourself, you know what? I don't have the education. I'm not lucky. Everything I try, I'm not lucky. I'm not like him. He's a lucky guy. You know, whatever he touches turns to gold. You know, I'm not smart. He's a genius. I'm not that smart. I'm a failure. I started many things and always failed. You have to get rid of the negative thoughts. Focus on the positive. Every one of us has negative and positive. We have negative things in our personality and we have positive things in our personality. Focus on the positive. Don't focus on the negative. You will go nowhere if you focus on the negative. And you will go far ahead if you focus on the positive. And optimism has positive effects, not only on yourself, but on the people around you. Major effect. It has power over the people around you. An optimist person, when they're dealing with other people, they see the good in them. They see the accomplishment. They see everything that gives them potential. A negative person or a pessimistic, they see, oh, you know, you cleaned that whole wall, but there is a dot here. You know, it's not finished. If somebody prepare a beautiful meal, oh, you needed a little bit more salt. Always, those people, they find negative. But it depends. If you're optimistic, an optimistic person look at everything and say, this is great. I'm impressed. I can't believe that you did that. That's more than I thought. The person that listens to you, he leaves feeling like $1 million. He's ready to conquer the world. The other person comes full of optimism and he's happy. He wants to show you something. And I've seen it with parents do that to their children. That's the hardest one. Your little boy or little girl is coming to tell you, look, I did this. And then you say, oh, it doesn't look good. Your brother is better than you. Your sister is better than you. How can you do that? You have to be optimistic even when you deal with your children. Pessimism destroys people. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us in the Quran that we have to spread optimism. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَأَمَّا بِنِعْمَةِ رَبِّكَ فَحَدِّثْ. And as for the favor, the bounties of your Lord, do announce them. Allah wants us to tell people the good things that happen. When you do that, you give people hope. You make them optimistic. They feel there is good things that are going to happen. Like if you see somebody who lost their job, you can tell them, you know, 5 years ago, I lost my job. I had the same thing. Things looked bad. But you know what? After 1 year, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give me a good job. And alhamdulillah, and He give me a promotion after that. As He did to me, He can do even better to you. Spread the good word. That's what Allah wants us. Talk about the good things that Allah did for you. You know, I came to this country, I had nothing. And alhamdulillah, look at what Allah did to me. The same way that Allah did to me, He can do it even more to you. You speak better English than me. You are educated here in America. You have all of that. There is great doors that are going to open for you. Give people hope. Spread optimism, not only to yourself, but you have to spread it around you. You have to be the light that people can see with it, not the darkness. The optimistic person is the light that everybody can see and can read and can see their future and their path. And the Prophet ﷺ in a hadith, he said, make things easy and do not make them difficult, and give good news and do not make people run away. So that's a duty of the Muslim. Give good news. Don't go around. Some people come and, I've seen person come in and say, so excited and say, I have some bad news. Come on. Why are you so excited? Don't go and give bad news. Say good news. Always spread the good word. Traffic is horrible on 85, but they said it's going to move. There is just an accident 2 miles down and it's going to get better. Give good news. Don't make people run away. Our mind is a container, so you can fill it with optimistic thought or you can fill it with pessimistic thought. It's up to you. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling us in the Quran, إِنَّ اللَّهَ لَا يُغَيِّرُ مَا بِقَوْمٍ حَتَّى يُغَيِّرُوا مَا بِأَنفُسِهِمْ. Allah does not change the condition of a people until they change that which is in their souls. We can make excuses and blame everybody for our pessimistic attitude, for feeling down. You can blame Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, astaghfirullah. You can blame shaitan. You can blame your boss. You can blame your spouse. You can blame your friends, your parents. You can blame anybody. But you know what? In reality, we are the only one who can change our thoughts. Nobody else. We control the gate to our thought. We are the only one to control the gate to our thought. If you're sitting and watching TV and you have in front of you a program that's boring, you are tired of it, what do? You don't sit and say, it's going to finish in 2 hours, I have to sit 2 hours and watch. You don't do that. You take the remote control and change the channel. You control that remote control for your brain. Whenever you have bad thoughts, change the channel. Change it. If you're looking at something, you start to say, oh, it doesn't work, it's not gonna, change it. Say, why not? Why don't I give it a try? Change the channel. Don't sit the 2 hours watching a boring program that you hate. Change it. You can do that. So how can we become optimistic? Because I talked about optimism, but if I don't tell you some ideas how we can become optimistic, then what did you accomplish? The first thing that you should do is trust Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Trust Allah. You should believe that Allah will help you the same way that you believe the sun will come up every morning. Not if, just when. You are sure every day the sun is going to come up. Somebody asks you, in the summer, is the sun going to come up? Yes. When? I don't know. I have to look at a calendar or look on the internet. But you are sure it's going to come up. Not if, when. So you have to trust Allah that way. Your iman, your trust in Allah has to be strong, not shaken by what happens to your life. So trust Allah that always something good is going to happen. Definitely. And don't expect, when you trust Allah, don't expect that whenever you're going to come out of the difficulty, you're going to come out the same way. No, you have to trust Allah that you're going to come out from difficulty better than before. Not only the same way, better. Because Allah does not give back the same thing. Allah is the most generous. When He gives back, He gives a lot. That's why when you give $1, He gives you up to 700. Nobody will give you that. But Allah is the most generous. So when you trust Allah, trust after your difficulty, you're not going to come back like before. You are going to be better than before. And then number 2, aim high. Aim very high. Expect more from Allah. The Prophet ﷺ, he said to us, whenever any one of you ask for paradise, you should ask for Al-Firdaus, because it is the best and the highest place in paradise. So he's telling us, when you ask, don't ask for average, don't ask for regular, ask for the best, because you're asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the most powerful, and He can do anything. So when you ask, be bold, ask for a lot. Some people say, oh Allah, I just need $1,000 so I can finish the month. You ask from Allah, ask $1 million, ask $1 billion. Don't say just a little bit. You're asking Allah, and Allah expects you ask Him a lot. So do that. God is a God of the extraordinary thing. He doesn't just do regular thing. So always expect a lot and the best from Allah. And number 3, trust yourself and do your part. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, فَإِذَا عَزَمْتَ فَتَوَكَّلْ عَلَى اللَّهِ. So when you have decided, then place your trust in Allah. Some people, they say, I have limitation. This is as far as I can go. You should not accept your limitation when you're trusting Allah. Try and believe that you are going to reach beyond your limits. And do your part. Do everything you can. You cannot be trusting Allah and be a real optimistic person if you just don't do everything. If you know you can do 1, 2, 3, and you just do one and say, I trust Allah and optimistic, it doesn't work. But you do 1, 2, 3, and be optimistic and trust Allah, it will happen. And then, number 4, use positive language with yourself and with others. When you look at something, don't say, I cannot do it. It will not work. Always use positive language. I can do it. It will work. I am sure it's going to happen. I am sure I'm going to beat my sickness. I am sure I'm going to find a job. That's the way you should talk to yourself, because you have to encourage yourself as well. So you have to give yourself talk of confidence, talk of optimism, and the same for people around you. You cannot just tell somebody, oh, it's not going to work, don't try, and all of that. Be positive. Give them hope. Yes, give it a try. Why not? Maybe you can do it. I wasn't able to do it, but maybe you can do it. Try. And number 5, patience. You have to believe that every day that something better is coming into your life. Every day. And be patient. It doesn't matter whether you're 10 years old, 50 years old, 100 years old. You have to believe that what's coming is better than what passed. What's coming is going to be always positive, and it's going to be better. You have to have that attitude, because Allah is going to make it better. Allah said, I am as you expect of me. So be like that. And never give up. Never give up. Believe that you are going to get breaks even if you don't deserve them. Believe that you are going to find yourself time after time, at the right place. Don't believe that you're going to be always at the wrong time, the wrong place. You have to never give up. If you do that, success will be chasing you. But you don't give up. You know, I'll tell you something interesting. There was a study that was done in one of the major hospitals in the United States, one of the biggest hospitals in the United States. They were doing a study for every department. And in one of the departments, they were checking how the doctors are performing, how are the patients, how they're recovering, how long they stay, do they come back, all those kind of things. And they were doing this beautiful research. And they found in that particular department that all the doctors have the same statistic, roughly, except one doctor. That one doctor, they found out that his patient, they recover faster, and they don't come back to the hospital for complication. They don't. So they were kind of puzzled. So they said, let's look at the charts to check. Maybe he's using certain medication that we don't know of. He's doing some tests we don't know of. So let's do that. They checked. They found he's doing the same medication like the other doctors, same tests, same lab results, everything, nothing different. So they put one of the researchers to sit with the doctor when he's checking the patient. He sat with the doctor. There is one thing that they found that doctor is doing different than all the other doctors. That doctor was telling his patient every time, before they leave, I want you every day in the morning and 3-4 times a day, I want you to say loud, the medicine is working. I am feeling better. I am getting better every day. He was making his patient optimistic, and it worked. It worked. When you're optimistic, you are going to be less susceptible to sickness. When you're sick, you're going to recover faster. So you have to be optimistic. Yourself, your body is going to be even better. So trust yourself. Say those things to yourself. When you wake up every day, tell yourself every day when you wake up in the morning, today is going to be a great day. Today all my problems are going to be solved. Even if they don't get solved. Even if your day going to go bad. The next day you should say the same. Every day, give yourself that talk that you believe that things are going to get better. And they will. Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, maybe not next week, but they will. But you have to remain optimistic and move forward. I like watching on TV nature programs. So one of the programs I was watching is about birds and migrant birds. So I saw in one of the programs, migrant birds, they get together and either they are in a lake or in a field close to a lake, and they sit there. They need to travel from the north to the south or the south to the north, otherwise they will die. And they sit there 1 day, 2 days, 3 days, 1 week, and they do nothing. They're just sitting there drinking, eating, whatever. And then one day, the researcher or the people who are observing them, they said they are waiting for a wind. And one day that wind comes. When they come, they take off. And they take that wind and it takes them several thousand miles. They travel until they reach their destination, south or north. If you look at those birds, most of them, there is no way they can fly thousands of miles. Either little birds, they don't have the muscles, or big birds, they are too heavy. But what they do, they are patient and optimistic. They believe that the wind of Allah is coming and is going to take them to their destination. They don't say, I've been waiting a week, I give up. They will die. But they wait, and then the wind of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala comes and carry them the thousands of miles. They do their part. It's not the wind only. They keep flapping, but it's not their flapping that's going to get them several thousand miles. It's the wind of Allah, and they do their part, and they get them to their destination. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows the difficult people that you're going to meet in your life and the obstacle that you're going to face. He puts in you all the talents and the tools that you need to succeed and overcome your difficulty. All of them are in you. It's up to you to use them. A lot of us, we don't use them. We just complain and do nothing. Just keep complaining. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created us to succeed and make a difference in this world. He didn't create us to be an average person or a failure. No. He created every one of us to be a success and make a difference in this world. Be like the migrant birds. Don't give up. Be determined. Be optimistic. You must have no doubt that the wind of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is coming, and it's going to carry you and help you overcome your failure, your difficulty, your dark time, and you will achieve success, inshallah. Any questions? Go ahead.
I have a question about you're talking about the winds of the
Mm-hmm.
and you compare it with animals, which is, as a human, we have sort of different sets of things. They have an instinct, they say, oh, we have to wait. So by strengthening the instinct, what you suggest for us to strengthen the instinct, to know that we know this is the time to change our mind, to be more positive. So that's the first question. The second question is about obstacles to having yourself. It's like you are the source of the pessimism. Then you said that we have to be knowing that every day we're going to be better. But some people, I'm not saying some people, they have a cloud in their mind that thinking, I can do what I can do. And some people will say, oh, you stop it. You're not listening to what people say. So my question is how we can balance between what people say and what we believe to keep that spirit that we will become more optimists. So we not just listen ourselves too much, but also listen to other people as well. Thank you.
You're welcome. The first thing is, in order for us to be able to have more optimism and be able to focus, and like the birds, they can see, they have instinct, they're all of that. To make yourself more optimistic, look for the things that will make you more optimistic. Whether you're reading a story, some people every day, like back home, they wake up in the morning and they read the obituary. Who are the people who died today? We have that back home. It's very common. They wake up in the morning and they take the newspaper, and back home the obituary is in the second page from the end. So they open that, the first thing they read. They don't read even the front. They just read go there, such and such died, such and such. You set for yourself what you want to do. If you are chasing things that are pessimistic, it doesn't matter what you do. You are going to be pessimistic. And one thing that's very important too that I didn't mention, but I'll mention it now, is people who are around you. People who are around you has an important effect on you. If you surround yourself with people that says, life is miserable, there is no hope, things are horrible, tomorrow it's going to rain, the next day there will be thunder, and my car is going to stop. And if you surround yourself with those people, you're going to commit suicide. So run away from those people. Even if they are your relatives, I'm not saying cut your relationship with them, but when they start to turn into that broken record, get up and go away. So surround yourself with optimistic people. If you go and ask advice, don't go and ask advice from somebody who's pessimistic. What do you think he's going to tell you? He's going to tell you what he feels. He's going to tell you, give up. I tried it, I've been like that for 100 years. It's not going to get better. Life is miserable. So try to make yourself positive. It's in your hand by choosing the right people, choosing the right issues that you read, choosing the right material that you read, choosing the right programs that you see on TV. All those things will turn you to an optimistic person. But you have to give yourself a chance. If you surround yourself with pessimism, there is nothing you can do. It's going to rub off on you. Sooner or later, it's going to go inside. It starts outside and then go inside. So you have to do that. But the whole thing, it boils down to you have to make the change. That's why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying people are not going to change their condition until they change themselves. You are the one who's going to change it. And that's why I said you have the remote control. You are the one who controls everything. So try to change yourself. Try to change the people around you. Now you're telling me that sometimes people, how do you differentiate between an advice that somebody giving you and something that you think? Okay? When you listen to people, listen. Nothing wrong. Because if you don't listen to anybody, like somebody is telling you, your house is on fire, and you say, I'm not going to listen to anybody because I'm positive. But what you need to do is listen, and then you have to have your own judgment. If you don't like what the person said, ask another person that you trust. Get more than one opinion. If you can't even find a good answer, do what we call salat al-istikhara. Means asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for guidance. Ask Him to give you guidance. And Allah is going to put in your heart what is right for you. So at the end, listen, because sometimes you benefit. A lot of time I listen to people, they tell me, hey, you did this wrong, you did this, whatever. I like to hear that. But there is some people who enjoy just criticizing you. They're not your friends. They just enjoy that. They go home and say, it was a great day. I made her feel miserable. So you need to listen, but you balance. Don't take everybody that tells you, don't try, give up, it's not going to work. Take it for a fact. It's an opinion. Listen to it as an opinion. But then you decide at the end what is good for you and what's bad. And if you need help, ask other people, and obviously ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for guidance.
And it's related to A, hence choice A is best compared to choice B, something like that. Or maybe in my dream I see something related to choice B, hence choice B is better than choice A. So how do you know which one is the answer to your
Okay. First of all, there is nothing in Islam called opening the Quran and you find the word that this says that. I know people do that. I know that. But there is nothing in Islam that says that. A dream, it's in Islam. That the Prophet ﷺ told us, a good dream is still a good thing in Islam. So a good dream, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we are human. So we're not going to have anymore an angel coming down to tell us something. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, if He wants us to give us a message, He's going to give us in our dream. Or He's going to send somebody to guide us to a different direction. As for when you do Salat al-Istikhara, you are expected to do everything you can to decide what's better for you. So in other words, you're going to look at all the different options and say, I think this one is better. I'm not sure. But then I'm going to ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for guidance. How Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is going to guide you? And as we said, there is no angels that are going to come down to tell you. But Allah is going to make several things can happen. One of them, you're going to feel your heart leaning toward that direction. All of a sudden, you're going to start to see, I feel this is more right for me. I think this makes more sense than the other one. Another thing you're going to find out is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is going to send people in your path to give you some idea about what's best for you. Somebody is going to tell you, I tried this and it didn't work. That brand is not good. I bought that washer and that washer was horrible. All I had is problems with it and all of that. And you know what? You can read reviews about it, somewhere. Another thing is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in His guidance gives to you is when it's something that's good for you, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala makes it easy for you. And when something is bad, you are going to find a door after a door being locked in front of your face and somehow it's not moving forward at all. It's a clear sign that Allah is telling you this is the wrong path. So there is so many things that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala can do it. But you have to do your part. You don't say, oh Allah, there is 10 options, decide which one you want me to do. No. You have to do everything you can and then ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for guidance. Islam is a religion that says you as a human being have a role to play. You have to do your part. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is going to do it for you. Even Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying, I'll forgive you, but ask for forgiveness. He's not going to say, you keep doing your sins, and I'm going to come at the end and say, I forgave you. No. Do your part. Ask Allah for forgiveness. Then He will do it for you, inshallah.
Is there a dua that Rasulullah teach for us so that we become, become optimists? Is there a dua that Rasulullah teaches us?
All the dua of the Prophet ﷺ was kind of optimistic. He was always asking, Allah guide me to what's right. Allah increase my rizq. He's asking always, he's optimistic. He's asking for things. But he didn't say something specific to make me more optimistic. But you can always ask Allah to make you optimistic. You can ask Allah for that. Because Allah has unlimited power for anything. So you can ask whatever is on, you feel in your heart, you want to ask Allah, and He's going to, inshallah, give it to you. Alaykum as-salam wa rahmatullah.
I'm doing the volunteering in the hospital just to visit the very ill and dying person. I really want to know what should I say, because sometimes I don't know what to say. I just want to have like vocabulary that can comfort them, that to make them optimist, even though in the situation they are already like zero no hope. So can you give me suggestion? What should I say to them so make them like still optimistic, full of hope to Allah?
Does the person know that they are dying?
Oh, they already know. Oh, the doctor, I'm cancer in the stadium, terminal, and blah, blah, blah.
So they know everything. Okay. One of the things that you should always emphasize to that person, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is a fair Allah, is a just Allah. Everything He does is justice. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala promised that He will not make a believer suffer in this life and in the hereafter. So what you need to tell that person, that there is good news for you. That even though you're going through difficulty, but you are going to be better than all of us. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is erasing all your sins in this life. So when you, in the hereafter, inshallah, Allah is going to open the doors of paradise for you to just walk in. But all of us, we're going to be standing in humiliation and being asked about every little things that we did and all the miserable things, and everybody is going to be scared to death, more than death, but scared that we may end up in hellfire. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is settling all your account in this earth, in this life. Everything that you did in your life, Allah is wiping it out in this life, because He promised He's not going to make you suffer in this life and in the hereafter. So you have to look at it in a positive way, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is waiting for you, inshallah, in the day of judgment to send you directly to paradise. So yes, it's difficult now. Yes, it's suffering now. But on the day of judgment, all of us are going to be suffering and have difficulty, while you're going to be enjoying nothing except going to paradise. Going to paradise. So give her hope in that sense. Because if she knows it's terminal, then you need to tell her that what's coming is, inshallah, Allah's forgiveness and paradise for her. But one of the most important thing is that I want to add, whoever go and visit this sister, whoever, when you walk in, you have to be 100% optimistic and 100% happy. If you're 90%, stand outside the door until you're 100% and then walk in. The last thing that person needs is somebody with a long face, somebody who's feeling, because I feel bad for her. She needs her whatever days that she has in this life to be good days, and remember good things, and let her feel the love that you have for her. So that's what you need. Because I've seen some people go and visit some people who are sick, and it amazes me. The person walks into that person who's sick, and they have the Quran from the time they walk in. They're just reading Quran until they leave. Quran has a time for reading, but you're there to support them. And reading that is like you're telling the person you're going to be dying. So you have to be positive. There is a time for everything. Everything. So time when you walk into somebody who's sick or whatever, you have to be 100% full of hope, full of optimism, full of happiness, so it can rub off on them. Then when you walk out, they say, Alhamdulillah, I'm glad that she came and visited me. I feel a little bit better today. Okay, I guess time for food or what? وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وبارك عليه وسلم. الحمد لله رب العالمين والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله.